Hello friends, this is your world channel. Enjoy watching. Did you know that one world record that unrealistic to break could change the history of an entire sport? What about the insane basketball records that are hard or jumping without a parachute from a height of almost 8 kilometers? Such a is definitely worth seeing. Here's your world, and in this issue I'm going to tell you about these and other incredible records that impossible to break. Javelin throwing is quite an interesting and spectacular discipline. Especially spectacular was when it was performed by a German athlete who set a record, which is unlikely to be broken on July 20th. On the 20th of July 1984, he literally made a throw into history, threw the javelin with such force that it barely flew out of off the field. The projectile landed on the opposite end of the stadium, almost people. When the measurements were taken, the result stunned everyone. 104 meters and 80 centimeters. The record not only written in history, but also completely self-disciplined. Originally there were plans to ban javelin throwing in stadiums, but in the end they just decided to change the design of the javelin. The javelin was shifted forward, which the javelin's center of gravity was shifted forward. Of the projectile, it made the discipline safer, but at the same time it reduced the throwing range by about 10%. The record was invented in 1996 to throw a projectile 98 meters and 48 centimeters. Considering that even that record hasn't been broken in 26 years. Let's talk about the record. Alas, as far as I'm concerned, is unrealistic to me. It's an unusual stair climbing. How can you climb stairs in the usual way by stepping over one or even a few steps? And what's more, you can climb up the stairs with your hands. What about climbing stairs on your head? That's a load of crap, but that's exactly what the Chinese extremo killed Duolong. He holds a very unusual record for jumping up steps on his head. You get up in a stance and your arms start literally bouncing on his head up the stairs, and he doesn't help himself with his hands. He's moving on his head, bouncing up and down before each climb. He became the record holder in 2012 by climbing 34 steps, and in 2015 he broke his own record climbing 36 steps. In 2020, the Moon attempted to renew the record by aiming for 37 steps, but he failed. He didn't break his own record. That only this Chinese man is capable to remain the record holder in such an unusual discipline. Basketball. The free throw in basketball is a common thing. If you've watched a basketball game, you've seen that basketball players almost always hit the hoop with a free throw shot. I mean, it's no problem for a professional athlete, has no problem hitting the ball in the basket from that distance. Even for a professional athlete, it is no problem to hit the ball from that distance, even if it's just a few shots in a row. Basketball players have no problem, but what about tens of hundreds or even thousands shots in a row? I'm sure that even the top players like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Aristov and Korea can't do that, but Ted Martin can. In 1975, he was able to get to the basket 739 times in a row, and in 1996 he renewed his own record with 5,220 consecutive shots. It's unbelievable. Who Ted Martin may be a basketball legend that few who doesn't really know is not. What's amazing about the whole story is that basketball has nothing to do with you from or on the court, has nothing to do with basketball. He's just got good marksmanship. Let's take a look at another amazing basketball record of over 5,000 shots to the basket. Is powerful, but what about hitting the basket from 200 meters away? It seems unrealistic, but Derek Heron disagrees. He agrees. In 2018, he came to the Lesotho Kingdom in South Africa, and near the Malitsa waterfalls, he made the most accurate shot at the basket, from a height of 201 meter 42 centimeters, and although it took Derek, the record was set by Derek, a lot of time and a lot of basketballs. It doesn't take away from the epicness of this record. Some of you probably have tattoos. Tattoos on someone's body, maybe one barely noticeable tattoo on your body. Someone, for example, completely blocked hands. In any case, no matter how many tattoos you have, No matter how many tattoos you can't break the record of Gregory Paul McLaren, who is better known as Lucky Diamond Rich. This 52-year-old New Zealand resident is the most tattooed man on the planet. Percent of Husky's body is covered in tattoos. You won't find a single spot on his body that isn't covered in tattoos. The Husky even has tattoos on his eyelids, between his fingers and in his mouth. New Zealanders have so many tattoos and such strong desire to tattoo something else that he's having to outdo the old one's tattoos with more color and lighter tattoos, and also adding different colors to in addition to everything else. Stretched earlobes on Venus teeth as you consider how long a donut can drifting a few minutes. Maybe a whole hour. Take it higher in this plan. The crazy record belongs to car instructor Johann Schwartz. A few years ago, he set the world record for non-stop drifting in a BMW M5 for 8 hours without a break. For a full 8 hours without stopping. It's very difficult to set such a record, and not just because the driver you have to concentrate all the time. The car, you have to fill it up, but how do you to do it on the go? In fact, you just have to get the Schwartz right and start drifting even before the car with extra tank in the trunk of the stunt car leaning out the window of the second car connected a hose to the Schwartz car and starts pumping gasoline with 5 refills. Johann Schwartz drove into the skid about 374 kilometers. That's 210 kilometers more than the previous record in this discipline. Do you think such a record is realistic? Break? How do you imagine priests? For many of you, a priest is a spiritual man far removed from sports and in a show of strength, right? And what about a priest like Winfast? And in his spare time of church service, he likes to lift weights. But the pastor's greatest accomplishment is his towing a giant airplane. In 2009, he was able to move an airplane weighing 189 tons and pull it and dragged it 9 meters forward. A record that no one has been able to break. No one has ever been able to break it. Some people pull airplanes and others jump out of and fly straight to the ground. One such free-falling stuntman, Luke and Kings. What does that have to do with the record? The fact that the hatch jumps without any parachute. It begs the logical question how he managed to survive the fall? Everything here simple. The hatch falls on a special netting stretched out 20 stories high in a skyscraper. On July 10, 2016, he pulled exactly that stunt. He jumped out of an airplane at an altitude of 7,600 meters and flew to the ground. The hatch flew for about 2.5 minutes before successfully landing on the net. It took the extreme man about 2.5 minutes to prepare for this incredible stunt, and record took the extremist 2 years. The record itself is yet to be broken. You know, if you're able to hit a ball, how long can you hit it? If you've played soccer, you've probably been around it for a long time. If you've played soccer, you'll probably last at least half a minute. But what if you add with the walking and the harsh weather conditions? Then it becomes very difficult to hit the ball. Nevertheless, the Chiron Jamie can cope with it. 2019, this soccer freestyler set an unbelievable record. Took the ball and the equipment with him and went to Saskaro. John walked across the desert without the ball. In 1 hour, he managed to cover 5 kilometers and 860 meters, chasing the ball. Johnny didn't stop there, and within the next 7 days he covered 100 kilometers of the hot desert, still kicking the ball. Not the blistering heat, not the sandstorms, not the inconvenient terrain could not have prevented it. This is a true record breaker. The chance of a man being struck by lightning is very unlikely. Much less likely that lightning will strike a person more than once, multiple times. These are truly unique cases. That's actually the record that went down in history. Swarm Sullivan went down in history. 1942 to 1977, he was struck by lightning 7 times and managed to stay alive. 1942, the only thing that was struck by lightning, Swarm's fingernail. 1969, he lost consciousness after the discharge. In 70s, lightning paralyzed his arm, and in 72nd, another lightning strike caused his hair caught fire. 5, 6, and 7 discharges caused Roy various injuries, but he survived each time. He's been listed in the Guinness Book of World Records. Guinness Book of World Records. I don't think anybody would want to repeat or break a Swarm record. I don't think, and it's not going to happen.